All right, I want to welcome everyone to our live Saturday morning presentation. Everyone should be able to see my screen, and we're going to be talking about the science of pH, and then we're going to look at the synergy products that will help you in this process of maintaining a good pH. Now, as you can see by my screen, there is a graphic there that goes from 1 to 14. So when we look at acidity, neutral is 7. So anything less than 7 becomes acidic. And the lower the number, the higher the acidity. So if we're talking about 0, that would be absolute acidity. And then on the opposite side, if you move to the right, anything above 7 becomes alkaline. And this aspect of the pH, depending upon who you read, is a huge factor with regards to the health of the body. And you'll read some people who will say that all disease occurs when you're in an acidic environment. And although I don't completely buy into that, I think that you can have some disease processes occur when you're alkaline. But if you look at the vast majority of diseases that go on in the body, the more acidic the environment, the easier it is for that disease process to maintain itself and increase. So this becomes an important issue, and it's important for us to understand looking at the pH scale. Now, one of the things that people don't understand about pH is that they think that it's arithmetic as opposed to it being logarithmic. So here's the difference. If I look at this pH scale, arithmetic, then if I go from a pH of 7 neutral to a pH of 6, which is acidic, you would think that I went by 1. And if I went from a pH of 7 down to a pH of 5, then I increased the acidity by 2. But that's not how this scale works. It's logarithmic. So if I go from a pH of 7 to a pH of 6, I've increased by 10-fold. So if I go from 7 to 5, I don't increase by 20-fold. I increase by 100-fold. So it's logarithmic. 7 to 6 is a 10 increase. 7 to 5 is 100 increase. 7 to 4 is 1,000 increase. 7 to 3 is a 10,000 increase, and 7 to 2 is 100,000 increase in acidity. So that's a big factor. When you're looking at the pH scale, moving from one number to the next number has an impact on the body. And the farther away that you're from neutral, the greater the impact that you're going to have. So when we look at, again, this pH, there's this, like I said, there's this great debate with regards to, the acid alkaline scale and balance and how it applies to your health. And when we come down here, we talked about this already. Here's some of the issues that occur when the body is what they call the acidification of the internal terrain of your body. And when they look at that, you'll see a bunch of different disease issues begin to pop up. Lack of energy or chronic fatigue, poor circulation, high blood pressure, heart disease, weight gain and obesity, irritability, nervousness and leg cramps, inflammation, joint fatigue, arthritis, rheumatism, and gout, gastrointestinal disorders, acid reflux, and irregular bowel movements, diabetes and kidney stones, allergies and skin disorders, osteoporosis, candida, and cancer. And although this isn't a complete list, as you can see by the number of different issues that are involved here, you can see that there's a lot of things that are affected from a health standpoint based upon the acidity of your body. Now, when you look at your body, and this is not true for all areas of your body, but if you look at your blood chemistry, and if you look at your lymph system, and if you look at your intercellular fluids, your body wants to be slightly alkaline. So it wants to keep a range between 7.365 and 7.390. That's a pretty narrow range that your body wants to maintain so that it can have optimal use of those different fluid systems within your body and the benefits that those fluid systems bring to your body in maintaining your health. Now, if you're looking at your gastric region, your stomach, I pulled this up because I was interested to know. So let me switch over. If you look at the acidity of your stomach, you can see that the pH of the stomach is somewhere between 1.5 to 3.5. So why the range? Well, most likely if you look at this, the range has to do with age. The younger you are, the more acidic your stomach is, which means that you're able to digest about anything that you eat because it's so acidic. But as we age, the pH, the acidity of our stomach isn't as acidic as it was when we were younger. So we're most likely closer as we age in our 60s to being in the 3.5 range. Well, what does that mean? Well, from a digestive standpoint, it means that it becomes harder for us to digest our foods because the pH is not as strong. And so it needs other things like enzymes to be able to break down foods properly so that we can absorb them properly in our small intestine. And as you can see on this question that people ask, what would happen if the pH of the stomach was 7? It's important to note that the pH of the stomach, 1.5 to 2.5, is maintained by HCl, hydrochloride. And if you remember, sometimes they use hydrochloride as a binding molecule to L-arginine to try and boost its absorption, which is essential for the protein digestive enzymes to act on proteins, which means that the lower your stomach acid, or the lower the number for your stomach acid, the easier it is going to be for you to break down protein. Which means that as older adults, as the pH of our stomach increases and it becomes less acidic, it becomes harder for us to break down proteins, especially proteins that we're eating, especially meat proteins. So I bring this up because I want to go back to the scale. We'll talk about some of the synergy procs and how those synergy procs can help us with regards to this pH scale and maintaining an alkaline system. But there's something that's out there that people promote, which is alkaline water. And there's alkaline water that you can buy a system for your home, and then you can make your water as alkaline as what you want to. And people don't understand the pH scale. They look at it as arithmetic as opposed to logarithmic. So if you have alkaline water, and if you have one of those systems in your home and you're drinking alkaline water that has a pH of 8, well, okay, that's just 10 times more alkaline than 7. So that's not a big deal. It's not going to cause a big issue with regards to your stomach acidity. If you're drinking something that has a pH of 9, now you're looking at something that's not 10-fold, you're looking at something that's 100-fold. Well, if I'm drinking something that's pH 9 and I'm young and my stomach acid is 1.5, that alkaline water most likely won't have much of an effect on my stomach acidity and its ability to digest food. But if I'm an older adult and my stomach acidity is at 3.5, then alkaline water at 9 has a greater impact on increasing, of lessening the acidity in my stomach. And then some people will take this to the extreme of doing alkaline water at 10. Well, when we get to 10, we're looking at a 10, 100, 1,000 increase in alkalinity. And 1,000 increase in alkalinity would affect most people with regards to their digestive process in their stomach. But especially for older adults, if your stomach acidity is a 3.5 and you're drinking alkaline water at a 10, you're affecting the acidity of your stomach. it becomes less acidic because it's being offset by your alkaline water. And so it becomes harder for you to digest your foods, which means that you have more food going into your small intestine undigested, which then makes it harder for your small intestine to absorb those nutrients, which then affects your bowel movements and other issues. So you got to be really careful with regards to alkaline water that you're drinking and consuming. There's other ways to make your water alkaline, which helps to keep your body in the slightly alkaline area, but without affecting your digestive processes. Now, going back down onto this, and I'll make this PDF available to everyone when we send out the newsletter on Tuesday. So some people will tell you that an acidic body is a breeding ground for all disease, that no disease can exist in an alkaline environment, and the primary cause of cancer is lack of oxygen in an acidic environment. Now, I don't completely buy into that. I believe that you can have diseases occur even when you're in the alkaline environment. But most diseases will flourish if the body is acidic. So it's important to look at what we do and the things that we consume. Now, I don't want to pick on Coke, but Coke is a great example because you see people drink Coke all the time, or colas. Phosphoric acid are in most dark colas. So when you look at the pH of Coca-Cola, it's 2.6. Now, how many Cokes does a person drink on a daily basis? How many times do they go to McDonald's and get the large Coca-Cola? And how many times do they refill that large Coca-Cola? Now, if we're, again, looking at pH, and pH of Coke is a 2.6, that would make it about 50,000 times more acidic than a pH of 7. And if you're drinking Coke on a daily basis, or dark colas on a daily basis that contain phosphoric acid, then this becomes a recipe for osteoporosis. Why? Because your body has to offset that acidic intake. And the way that it does that is to pull calcium, which helps to maintain an alkaline environment. It pulls calcium out of your bones into your vascular system so that it can, again, be able to offset the acidity that's occurring through the foods that you're consuming. Now, we'll look at what foods are acidic and what foods are alkaline. And you need to understand that it's not the initial part of the food. Like some foods will test acidic before you consume them. And it's not necessarily going to cause you to be acidic because it's acidic when you consume it. What makes the difference is when that food item is metabolized in your body, it leaves what's called an ash. And that ash is either acidic ash, or it's neutral, or it's alkaline ash. So it really depends upon what you're consuming that ends up having the effect on your body, moving it towards acidic or alkaline. Now, here's 3 things that help to create this acidic environment. Ingesting acid-producing foods. I'll give you a list of them. Well, I have it here in just a second. So when foods metabolize or burned in our body, it leaves an ash. And so that food ash, like I've talked about, is either going to be neutral, acidic, or alkaline, depending upon the leftover mineral composition of the food. So here are acidic foods: corn, canned fruit, cranberries, most grain and grain products, most beans and legumes, milk, peanuts, peanut butter, most, most animal proteins, tuna, most fats and oils, sugar, artificial sweeteners, alcohol, and aspirin. And so when you look at that, that really looks like an American diet. Now, what are alkalizing foods? Water, most vegetables, most fruits, especially if they are low in sugar, almonds, fermented tofu, whey protein, all herbs and many spices, soured dairy products, probiotic cultures, bee pollen, and juices that are green, veggie, or fresh fruit. Super acidifying foods, Coca-Cola, beer, coffee. Super alkalizing minerals, potassium has a pH of 14, sodium has a pH of 14, calcium has a pH of 12, magnesium has a pH of 6. Now, before I go on, I want to come to the sodium. I know that the medical profession wants to reduce sodium intake. But when you look at sodium having a pH of 14, and you look at what most people eat in their American diet, which is highly acidic, that sodium helps to offset that acidic diet that they have. So I'm not a big proponent that you need to reduce your sodium intake. You know, I would do your sodium based upon your taste as opposed to based upon the number of grams of sodium that they want you to take on a daily basis. So sodium, if your diet is highly acidic, can be a good thing to help offset what you're doing in terms of creating an acidic environment based upon the foods that you're eating being offset by the sodium that you add to it. Again, it's just, to me, it's an important thing to look at from a distinction. Now, if you are eating an alkaline type of diet, then yes, I would want you to restrict your sodium intake because, again, you also don't want to go so far on the alkaline side of the equation that you cause your pH of the normal environment that's looking for, which is slightly alkaline, to get more alkaline. Again, that doesn't necessarily mean that the more alkaline your internal system becomes, the healthier you're going to be. Your body likes to maintain itself in a very narrow range. And then number two is creation of an acidic environment resulting in toxicity and microform overgrowth. As you eat and drink food combinations that create an acidic environment, microforms and pathogens start to grow and proliferate in your body. For example, yeast, candida, and anaerobic bacteria now have an environment that fosters their growth, which results in toxins and acids being excreted into your system, causing a further acid-alkaline imbalance. And then the third aspect is that as this goes on, poor elimination and neutralization of acids. Your body will go to great lengths to maintain its normal pH level. It will even stress other tissues and body systems to do so. It uses minerals such as calcium to act as a buffer. Your body will even pull calcium out of your bone structure to help this process, which can lead to osteoporosis. I don't know if you remember, but maybe about, and this is dating myself a little bit, but about 20 years ago, during the Super Bowl, Pepsi had these ads where they would show people drinking Coke and they were like lethargic. And then people would drink Pepsi and they were all full of energy and dancing around on the beach. And I kept thinking to myself, yes, continue drinking Pepsi and eventually your dancing around on the beach is going to lead to hip fractures because the calcium is being pulled out of your bones to offset what you're drinking. Anyways, it's just something that came to my mind as I was talking here. So what are the 6 steps that we need to do to go from acidic to alkaline? Well, the first thing is to change your diet to include more alkalizing foods. The second thing to do is increase your water consumption and eliminate dark colas. So if you're a dark cola drinker, you need to stop that and you need to start consuming water. Now, I'm going to show you one of the Synergy products that I think is the best way to get your water consumption and have something in it that will provide an alkaline environment, which is liquid chlorophyll. 3, cleanse and detoxify your body of microforms and toxins they have created. Again, that is beginning the process of resetting your gut health. We'll be looking at that at one of our Saturday presentations later on in this fourth quarter. Replenish your mineral reserves. Replenish your enzyme reserves. Replenish the population of healthy probiotics in your GI tract. Again, resetting your gut health so that you're putting in your gut the bacteria that likes a more alkaline environment than bacteria that thrive in an acidic environment. So what are the top alkalizing foods that you consume? Well, one is wheatgrass. If you ever had it, you most likely won't continue eating it because it doesn't really taste all that well, but you can get wheatgrass in other forms: calcium, sodium, potassium, chloride, bicarbonate, comet grass, barley grass, alfalfa grass, magnesium, potassium, manganese, iron, and zinc. Now, as I've shared, I was for a long time, last 3 to 4 months, I haven't felt well. I had a persistent cough. I would get headaches at night while I was sleeping. I was wheezing. I go upstairs and would be exhausted, just didn't have any energy. And when talking to one of my physicians that did my surgery for my face, he thought I might be anemic. So I started taking iron that night when I got home. And it's made a huge difference because then later on I went in for a blood test. Blood test definitely showed that I was anemic. And since I've been using the iron, it's made a huge difference in all those symptoms. I don't have the persistent cough anymore. I don't have wheezing. I don't have my lung issues. I don't get fatigued like I did before. I've started to go back into the gym to rebuild my cardiovascular system. You know, I don't have the headaches at night like I did. You know, it's just amazing what one single ingredient can do in helping your body systems work so much better. Now, when we come to this, when you look at this list, you can see that there's a lot of things that are green on this list: comet grass, barley grass, alfalfa grass, wheatgrass. Well, you can consume those things, or as we'll find, Synergy has a great product that already gives you those things. So one of the things that you can do is what we call a green fusion drink. That would be a great replacement for your dark colas. Some people from a medical standpoint will look at Tums because it's got calcium in it. And calcium, as you can see up here at the top, calcium is the second one that you could consume that would have the greatest impact on helping to move an acidic environment back towards neutral and maintain a slightly alkaline balance. Well, the problem with Tums is Tums affects the stomach acidity. And you need an acidic stomach to be able to properly digest calcium so that it can be absorbed into your body. So when you interfere with your stomach acids through something like Tums, you really don't get the calcium absorption that you think you're going to get. So it doesn't make sense to me why doctors continue to promote this type of product with regards to as a calcium supplement. You're better off taking a calcium supplement than doing something like with Tums. Now, when we look at the pH scale and what Synergy products will help us stay on the alkaline side of the equation, the first one that comes up is essential greens. You look at the list of ingredients. What's the number one ingredient? Wheatgrass, and then barley grass. And when we come down here, you've got spinach leaf and kale and broccoli. So when you look at this product, Essential Greens, it is a great product to help you stay on the alkaline side of the equation. Now, the Essential Greens today is slightly different than the core greens that they originally produced. The essential greens today is much more tolerable if you're just going to drink this by itself. Now, the way that I use the essential greens is I put it in the morning shake. And the morning shake then hides the taste of the essential greens. It gives me all of this proprietary blend, which is all basically things that are green in nature that are going to, when they get burned or metabolized by your body, is going to leave an alkaline ash, which is then going to help me stay on the alkaline side of the equation. So this would be the number one product that I would recommend, that if a person wanted to significantly begin to address the acid alkaline environment in their body, I would recommend that this would be the first product that they would choose. The second product that Synergy has is the Biome DTX. Again, when you look at the makeup of the Biome DTX, it has a lot of things in it that when it's burned, metabolized, leaves an alkaline ash. And then the other thing that goes with the Biome DTX is that it begins to help to fuel the good bacteria that prefers to live in an alkaline environment than in an acidic environment. So not only does it help you from the standpoint of when it's metabolized, providing you with alkaline ash, but it also helps in the process of resetting your gut microbiome and feeding the good bacteria that you want to help you in the process of maintaining good health. The Biome Shake would be, again, another great product because the Biome Shake uses pea protein as opposed to animal protein. So it's a vegan, vegetarian protein that, again, when it's burned, is going to leave an alkaline ash, which is then going to help in terms of providing for a great environment to help you maintain that acid-alkaline balance properly. And at the same time, the ingredients of the Biome Shake are going to fuel the good bacteria that you want in your abdominal cavity so that you can begin this process of resetting your gut health and feeding the good bacteria, helping to give them the environment where they're going to thrive. And when you do that, you see the benefits that come from that, from your overall health. Now, some specific products from Synergy with regards to magnesium, the one that Synergy has is the Body Prime. This would be a great product because it's going to give you 400 milligrams of magnesium, which is going to help because when that magnesium gets metabolized in your body, it leaves an alkaline ash, which is going to help, again, maintain that acidic environment or that alkaline environment that you're looking for. And then this is my favorite product of all that I've showed you. You know, I love the Biome Shake. You know, the Essential Greens is a great product, but the liquid chlorophyll is the easiest thing that you can do on a daily basis to consume water, which again helps you maintain proper alkalinity in your body. And when you add the liquid chlorophyll, when that gets metabolized, it leaves an alkaline ash. And I find everything, you know, if I have to drink water, I find it hard to consume a lot of water because water tastes okay, but it really only tastes good if you're really thirsty, at least for me. But if I add the liquid chlorophyll to my water, I can drink that all day long. I like the taste of the liquid chlorophyll in my water. I prefer to drink my water that way. And so I end up drinking much more water than what I normally would drink simply by doing this one discipline, adding liquid chlorophyll. I typically do, you can see that the serving size is 2 teaspoons. I usually put a teaspoon or a little bit more than that in the bottom of a glass, fill it up. My glass is usually like a 12-ounce glass. And I usually have 3 to 4 of those on a daily basis. You know, I could certainly consume more water than what I do. But again, you know, I even throw, I do my Pro Arginine E9, and I do the immune booster. Those 3 products I do twice a day. And I prefer them in liquid chlorophyll than I do in just plain water. So when I go to mix up in the morning, when I wake up, first thing I do is I get I usually have about a half a glass left over from the night before of liquid chlorophyll. I add a stick of E9, a stick of ProArginine, and a stick of the immune booster into that leftover liquid chlorophyll. Stir it up, and I drink it over about a 30-minute time period. And then in the afternoon, usually I've already had a glass of liquid chlorophyll. Usually it's about halfway consumed. And then around 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I'll repeat the same thing. I'll add a stick of E9, stick of ProArginine, and a stick of immune booster into my liquid chlorophyll, stir it up, and drink that over the next half an hour to 45 minutes. And that's a daily routine that I do. And I prefer those 3 products in my liquid chlorophyll than just doing it in water. I don't know, it just makes it easier to consume. It tastes better. And again, it just becomes a daily discipline that I do. Now, with that said, we got one other product here, Biome Actives. Again, the purpose of the Biome Actives is to help reset that gut health, to be able to bring in a probiotic that prefers an alkaline environment to be able to best breed. So one of the nice things about the Biome Actives is it's called Bacillus coagulum. So it's a spore. Usually you don't take spores because usually spores, when they germinate, have a negative effect on the body. This is a spore that actually has a positive effect. And as a spore, it's able to get through the acidity of the stomach without being broken down, which means that you get more of your probiotic into the small intestine. Then in the small intestine, where the environment is more alkaline because of the types of foods that you're eating, that spore can then germinate because it's in a better environment. And once it germinates, then you have the ability to quickly reset your gut health with a type of bacteria that you want that helps to foster good health. So this is a great product to use, that if you're doing the things to help reset your acid alkaline balance towards alkalinity, then this will help to quickly recolonize your gut health and give you the benefits that come from that. So with that said, do I have any questions from anyone with regards to any of the information I've shared with you today? You'll have to unmute yourself because I have everyone muted, not mutated, but muted.
Hi, good morning, Dan. This is David.
Good morning, David.
Hey, wonderful, wonderful information. Thank you so much, Dan.
You're welcome.
I guess the question that maybe I missed it in your presentation, but the question that comes to my mind: what's the best way to measure my existing alkalinity in the body?
Oh, that's a great question. So, outside of a blood test, I suppose that you can get pH strips, and I'd have to go online and Google this. But I think if you Google pH strips to determine body alkalinity, they most likely will tell you that how your test strip tests in your mouth, and you most likely can also test the pH of your urine, will then correlate to the acidic or alkaline nature of your body.
Second question, Dan. If I did a blood test, where would I look to find out what initials? They're usually initials that come out in terms of the measures. What initials denotes the acidity of your body?
Yeah, you'd most likely have to ask them to actually do that in your blood test, because I don't know of any normal blood test that they do that actually would give you that information. So when you do a blood test, you'll most likely see your mineral composition. So you can look at that and see if your mineral composition is out of balance. because there's usually, when you look at your blood test, you'll see different types of minerals in the analysis of your blood. And then there's usually a range for those different things. And you can see whether you're on one side or on the whether you're too low or you're too high. So like for potassium, they're most likely going to look at potassium more in relationship to heart function than they are going to look at it in terms of body acidity. Because if your potassium is low, then they most likely are concerned that if they're going to do any type of surgery, they're going to most likely wait, because low potassium creates the potential for a spasm. And so again, when we're dealing with like muscle function, the heart is a muscle. It's a cardiac muscle, but it's still a muscle, just like your bicep is a muscle. So when you're looking at contraction, you've got sodium and calcium, potassium and magnesium. So when the muscle contracts, you need potassium for relaxation. And again, I don't want to go down a rabbit hole here, but if you look at the big study that was done that caused L-arginine to have a bad reputation with regards to people who had heart attacks, and they were given an L-arginine supplement, and the control group was giving something that was a placebo.
Right.
And in that study, what they found is the people who received the L-arginine supplement had more post-heart attacks than the placebo group. So they stopped the study early, and they said that L-arginine was a factor in causing people who had heart attacks to experience more heart attacks afterwards. And so they recommended that people not take L-arginine. Well, if you dug into that study, you found that they were using what's called a L-arginine HCl. So they used a supplement that was L-arginine HCl. Now they were given 3 grams 3 times a day. So they understood the importance of L-arginine given multiple times during the day to improve nitric oxide production for improved blood flow. But they combined it with L-arginine HCl. Well, I've already talked about HCl prior in today's presentation. HCl is hydrochloride. That's acidic. And so if I'm giving a person 3 grams of L-arginine HCl, about half of that is the HCl. So that hydrochloride creates an acidic environment, which then lowers potassium levels in the body. And it's most likely the HCl component of what they were giving people, because they're now giving them 1.5 3 times a day. So they're giving them almost 5 grams of HCl on a daily basis, which then creates an acidic environment, which lowers their potassium levels in their body. And so those spasms were most likely due to low potassium caused by the HCl that they were consuming, and had nothing to do with the L-arginine. So that's why it's important to look at study details, because you won't see that unless you go to the actual study and look at what they were using as their L-arginine supplement in that study. And so, it becomes really important to when you look at studies, whether they're positive or negative, to make sure that you're looking at what they were actually using to see. Does that make sense?
Dan?
Yes, Judy.
Yeah, so you're just so on with the pH, and looking at the blood as far as minerals, because pH in the blood is different than pH in the saliva or the urine. So it's a different scale anyway.
Yeah.
And with my clients, my health clients, I don't have to ask them about their diet I can start with having them get pH strips and actually taking the first urine of the morning. That's the true test of how the body adjusts during the night to what the true acid in the stomach is. And you can actually tell so much of that. And by just focusing on what someone's pH is, you can get them into alkaline and help their disease state.
Mhm.
So, what you said at the beginning, absolutely, acidity causes disease. It absolutely does.
Mhm.
I have the work with a company that actually does takes a blood test, and her research has shown what supplements you need based on your blood work and your cholesterol and your blood sugar, what supplements you can use. And so it's absolutely amazing. And I'd be happy to take anybody's blood test and give them a result just at my cost. Because you can tell, do I need vitamin D? And that's a big one, or B12 or B6. Thanks for doing this. This is just so important. People don't realize the importance of this particular webinar.
Yeah, thank you, Judy. And while you were talking, Judy and David, all I did, and I opened up a browser. I have Google Chrome. How do you test the body's pH level? And then you can see exactly what Judy talked about. Test in the morning, first thing in the morning, if possible, after 6 hours of sleep without getting up to urinate. Excuse me. Get a test strip and tear off a 3-inch piece of paper from the roll and read the results of the color. So again, what Judy talked about, testing your urine, and then that will tell you. There's also a saliva test that you can do. So there's different ways of doing this, but again, there's products in the marketplace that you can obtain that you can use either urine or saliva to be able to see what your body's pH levels are based upon what your urine looks like from a pH standpoint, or your saliva looks like based on a pH standpoint. So that, again, that to me, that would be an easy way for you to be able to look at your pH levels, and just don't.
Absolutely. And in my class, we had to do over a week, because different your diet changes your
Correct.
alkalinity.
Yeah.
So to do it over a week, so what you're eating that's going to actually make a difference. And I have pH strips that I use. I'd be happy to send it's from Amazon. I'd be happy to send the link. It does saliva and urine. So
Yeah, send it to me in an email, and I'll make sure that I put it in the Tuesday newsletter.
okay, no problem.
Hi, Dan. Excellent presentation. And just to support what Judy indicated, yeah, you can get those pH strips from Amazon. Just send it in a tube. And David, that test, you would want the comprehensive metabolic test, and it would be in your. It shows up in your urinalysis, and it says pH specifically. And it should be between 5.0 and 8.5 if it's your urinalysis test. So where you are would tell you exactly. And the strip would verify what where you are.
So Donald, if you were, you said it could range from a 5.0 to an 8.5.
Yeah, that's what the report says.
Okay. So I would assume that if you're at a 5.0, then your body is more acidic Then if you're an 8.5, your body would be more alkaline.
You're absolutely correct, Dan. So if you're, for argument's sake, you're 6, it's, you know, you're smack in between, so you're kind of all right.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Donald.
Sure.
Anyone else before we go? All right. I want to thank you for your time today. Everyone have a blessed Saturday, and we will be back here next Saturday for our next presentations. Bye now.
And again, in taking that blood test, you need the comprehensive metabolic panel. That would give you, you know, everything that you need. And you're going to request your vitamin D separately since they don't include that.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Donald.
You're most welcome, Dan. Thanks for the presentation. Excellent, excellent as usual.
Thank you. Appreciate that. All right. Have a great Saturday.